Varesh, the Eternal. A being formed by the energies of others, Varesh uses his power to weaken and disrupt his enemies. By combining his powers, he is able to unleash devastating attacks. So what are his abilities then? Left click does 10 damage, heals himself for 2 health and inflicts the corruption debuff. Right click has a longer casting time but does 24 damage and inflicts the judgment debuff. After applying one of these debuffs, you'll notice a blue or a purple decaying circle around your enemy. Corruption is the blue circle. It reduces damage and healing done by 15% for 5 seconds. And Judgment is the purple circle, increasing the damage taken by 15% for 5 seconds. His spacebar is a shield. You can either shield yourself or an ally for up to 28 damage over 2.5 seconds. This ability has a 12-second cooldown. His Q is a very useful ability as a counter that stuns the enemy who triggers it for half a second and does 10 damage on top of that. You also get teleported behind the attacker. How far you get TP'd depends on how far away from the attacker you were in the first place. Think of it as a mirror. It has an 8-second cooldown, but you can recast it within 1.5 seconds after it being triggered. That is if you pick the return Battlerite in the first round. His E deals 12 damage in a small AoE and consumes the debuffs that you apply. This ability has a 5-second cooldown but stores up to 2 charges. His R warps him to a target location. Within a fairly large AoE around him, it also consumes the debuffs. This ability has a 15-second cooldown and costs 25 energy, so use it wisely. Consuming the blue circle with Shatter or Reform heals you for 8 health and snares the opponent, gradually restoring their movement speed over 1 second. While consuming the purple circle instead deals 8 bonus damage and silences the target for half a second. His ultimate allows him to dash up to 3 times in any direction, as long as he hits an enemy each time, dealing 24 damage and inflicting both debuffs on all enemies hit. His EX right click is a quicker cast than his normal right click. It does less damage, but heals you for 6 health and inflicts both the debuffs. It has no cooldown, but it costs 25 energy. His EXE ability does 12 damage, doesn't consume debuffs, but knocks enemies back instead. This ability has a 5-second cooldown and costs 25 energy. Skip ahead in this video if you'd rather see a couple of example builds than to hear me say something vague about each Battlerite. If you're having difficulties landing Shatter, Fracture is a pretty good Battlerite to go with in the first round for that damage and slight CC increase. I would recommend picking Break if the enemy team has one or more melee characters that stick to you like a tongue on a frozen lamppost, but it also provides you another way to inflict corruption on them. If you want to reduce incoming damage or need more mobility, pick Return. I wouldn't recommend Devastation, but if your enemies have been hit by Cupid and they can't stop hugging each other, you might as well just go for it. Cripple, I guess, cripples your enemies, making them less mobile and making it easier for you or your allies to catch up with them. If you or your allies are taking heavy damage or you just don't know what to pick on the second round, go for Wonder, it's just generally good. I wouldn't recommend picking Silence, not because it's bad, it's kind of good, but Ruin and Lawbender I feel are a lot better. Ruin is pretty decent. It provides you another way to apply judgment to your enemies, and synergizes very well with Return if you pick that in the first round. If you or your allies are struggling to stay alive, I'd recommend picking Lawbender, and if you know that you're gonna pick this Battlerite, I recommend picking Fracture in the first round and Wonder in the second round because they synergize very well together. If the enemies stick to you or you feel like you need to dodge a lot of ranged attacks, I guess movement speed could help you out. Do you use your EX abilities a lot? Do you want your ult faster? I guess you should pick Inspiration. Synergy though? It's definitely an interesting name for this Battlerite when it's the only one that doesn't synergize with his spells, Shatter and Reform. I don't see why you would pick this. When it comes down to the ultis, I just wouldn't recommend picking Accord in a 2s match, and I wouldn't recommend picking Eternal in a 3s match. I guess that'll be it for the video. If you enjoyed it, if you learned something, please leave a like, maybe subscribe if you want to see more. And thank you for watching. This has been FEWZ. I'll see you in the next one. I'm kind of... Oh! Oh no, we good.
Alright, we're in the circle now.
Yeah. Oh shit. Don't.
Alright, we're in the circle.
Okay, no, we fine.
Oh,